What do you guys think about Looking Glass? A technological means for predicting future outcomes. What do you think about that? Andrea and I listened to, I guess she had heard it before, but it was an Unfucker broadcast from a ways back, and it was this guy who was in the military in the 90s, and he had access to the Looking Glass technology and the powers that be, the powers that were trying to utilize his skill set, deductive reasoning, to help them interpret whatever the Looking Glass machine was spitting out. And apparently there was something called the yellow cube as well, which was a looking glass for personal use rather than prediction of sort of geopolitical possibilities. I'm curious to see what you all think of these technologies and how you think that they are tying into what we see when we look outside the door. What he was saying, and I don't know his name, I never found out what his name was. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. Which interview? What he was saying is that the so-called bad guys saw the same outcome. He said it bottlenecked at some point. He said there was free will and choice leading to different possibilities up until a certain bottleneck point. And after that point, no matter what choice was made by what individual under what scenarios, the outcome was bottlenecking into the same, no matter what. This might cut off at any point because I'm waiting for my guy to come back from talking with a client about construction bullshit, and his sensitive ears are not ready to hear any of these sorts of talks. So I might shut it off. But what do you guys think? What do you girls think about Looking Glass? What do you think about technology that can predict on a large scale, on a mass scale, probabilities and outcomes? And of course, again, these predictions can only be done in terms of concepts, and concepts, again, have very little to do with what the reality actually is, but they are our tools for playing and melding the mind stuffs of this reality, which is all of this reality for the most part, aside from our inner knowing, our inner space, which is not touched by these. If you know how to get there, if you know how to reside there, then you act and move and speak from your place of power, and the concepts are floating through your sky rather than dictating your emotional state from moment to moment. So he was saying they were all bottlenecking around 2012. I think that was when the video was made. It was made in 2012. And he was also asserting that the overall battle is already over. The good guys have won, bad guys have lost, and of course the ones using this technology would be the so-called bad guys, because again, bad guys are just out of control ego trying to protect itself from fear and get things that it desires. And that's really all that society is about for the most part, protecting from things that are feared and getting things that are desired. And of course, protecting ego states. And then on the deeper level, of course, it's about energy harvesting and farming and whatnot. But on the surface level, it's about protection of ego. What do you think? If you had a yellow cube that could predict your own future under almost all choices that you could make given your circumstances, would you look into that fucking thing? I wouldn't look into it. Not to mention, it gets fucky the second you start using it because the observer effect comes into effect. The moment that you look into this thing that's trying to predict a static future, and of course, if it's spitting out a future in terms of concepts, if it's not literally a swirling, if it's not a swirling possibility cloud matrix, then it's not the reality, because the reality is never set. So I understand that from the outset of these types of machines, it's a futility, but it can be fun. It can be useful to understand how we are, where we are, in terms of mental understanding, mental grasping. So let me know. Let me know what you know about Looking Glass. What have you heard about this technology? What do you know about the yellow cube? Would you use it if you had access? Let's have a little conversation about precognition. Alright guys and girls, boys and girls, hope you're having a good one. Peace!